Fat Joe has been at the forefront of the culture for a long time and has rubbed shoulders with some of the biggest stars there are. Because of his 30-plus year tenure in the game, he has had plenty of interactions worth discussing with the masses that have made major headlines when they've been reported. Whether it was turning down the opportunity to sign Eminem 6 times or helping to carry the flag of Puerto Ricans in hip-hop, Joey Crack has left an indelible mark on the culture. He once admitted, "Yeah, Eminem, he gave me his demo like 6 times. What? Yeah, I messed up. Big time." Even others have joked, "Biggest mistake in hip-hop history, Fat Joe." So much so that Joe feels confident to puff his chest out and claim that in a sea of frauds and fakes, he stands tall, even saying, "I think I'm the realest rapper ever lived if I keep it a buck with you." Besides Tupac, I really believe that. But while Joe thinks he's one of the true dons in the culture, where authenticity is often hard to come by, the problem he's running into is that people are seeing a new side of him, one that's anything but the honest figure he portrays himself as. The more he talks, the more it feels like he's changed from Fat Joe to Cap Joe. Long ago, Fat Joe came out and said he lied in 95% of his rhymes. People responded with criticism, saying, "He told the truth for the first time, that he's a liar. You can't believe nothing that comes out of his mouth. It's your boy Louisa," and this is how Fat Joe became hip-hop's biggest liar. When it comes to hip-hop legends, few have been accused of embellishing their stories as often as Joe. Think Snoop Dogg, Soulja Boy, and even Rick Ross, who stole another man's identity and built a career off it. But Fat Joe's sheer volume of half-truths has earned him the dubious reputation of a compulsive liar who'll say anything to stack the odds in his favor or escape consequences. Among the many things people are taking issue with is his recent attempt to rewrite his own history. After years of being known as Joey Crack and Don Cartagena, a recent CNN appearance saw the Bronx rapper try to clean up his image by portraying his rhymes as fiction. "I've been rapping professionally for 30 years. I've lied in almost 95% of my songs," he said. "I write like I feel that day. I'm just being creative. You couldn't build a jail high enough for the lyrics I've said, which are all untrue. What I am is a family man who gives back to my community, opens businesses. The music would never amount to the actual person, Joseph Cartagena." His comments came during a segment on lyrics being put on trial, and while his intentions seemed to defend artists' freedom of expression, admitting to lying in his raps was not a good move in a culture that demands realness. Even Joe Budden called him out, saying, "Fat Joe is lying. That's a lie." Others speculated that Joe didn't want to glorify drug dealing anymore, so he was making up a lie to clean up his image. Things took a stranger turn when Joe claimed that his nickname Joey Crack didn't come from selling drugs, but from his pants sagging and exposing his butt crack, a story many fans found bizarre. As a result, Joe later clarified and walked back his CNN comments, saying that he only meant most rappers are inspired by emotions rather than real-life events. But not everyone was buying it. Fans accused him of trying to sanitize his image and even rewriting his upbringing. According to Joe, he was a menace growing up, fighting karate experts, robbing gyms, and running the Bronx. He once told a story about beating up a black belt fighter in high school, and another where he robbed his entire gym class of 70 students without a gun, even claiming that some of the kids he robbed helped him carry the stolen goods. As wild as that sounded, fans didn't buy it. One commentator joked, "Fat Joe is one of those dudes that you know be lying, but you act like you believe him just to hear what else he says next." Over time, these tall tales made Joe a mythical Bronx figure, but not all his stories were about street life. Some were clearly designed to boost his rap reputation. One infamous example was when he claimed that before Biggie's death, they had recorded a full joint album together dissing Tupac. "We did like 4 songs," Joe said. Puff Daddy was the producer. But others called cap on that, including Biggie's close friends Lance Rivera and Lil Cease, who both said they'd never heard of such tracks. Cuban Link, Joe's former Terror Squad associate, claimed Joe made it up to latch onto Biggie's legacy and elevate his own status. Even Joe's supposed involvement in the East Coast, West Coast beef has been questioned. He once claimed he defended New York rappers when Tupac dissed the East, and even received a call from Pac himself in prison asking Joe to tell the Puerto Rican inmates not to attack him over a misunderstanding. Some, like Outlaws member Napoleon, confirmed Pac respected Puerto Ricans in prison, but others, including Pac's cousin, said Joe's story didn't add up. Joe's tendency to exaggerate didn't stop there. He once ignited major controversy by claiming Latinos were equally responsible for creating hip-hop as Black Americans, saying, "Latinos and Blacks created hip-hop. It was 50-50. The backlash was intense, with figures like Tariq Nasht and Lord Jamar reminding him that hip-hop's origins were primarily rooted in Black American youth culture. Even other Latinos disagreed with Joe's take. Ironically, Joe later contradicted himself by recalling how his father discouraged him from rapping because Spanish guys don't make it in this game. This contradiction only reinforced the perception that Joe would twist facts to suit the moment. His podcast with Jadakiss, The Joe and Jada Show, has since become a running gag for his tall tales. From claiming to have been a 5%er called Great God Allah, to being the first rapper with a Jordan sneaker designed by Michael Jordan himself, Joe's claims often blur the line between myth and reality. He even said he was the first customer at Flight Club, buying 100 pairs of sneakers before the store opened, and once boasted about winning amateur night at the Apollo 4 times, claiming fans went wild before hearing a single verse. Even Big Daddy Kane, who confirmed Joe once shared a stage with Tupac and Biggie, had to clarify, "Your version sounds more exciting than mine, though." As Joe continued spinning stories, like Tupac being raised in the Bronx, which was false, it became clear that he had embraced his King of Cap reputation. Fans now tune into his show as much for his wild imagination as for entertainment. Jada himself often teases him by waving literal flags whenever Joe starts stretching the truth. Guests even joke about his stories involving way too many people every time. Joe, for his part, has learned to lean into the joke, admitting that he exaggerates just a little bit. "If I tell you 100 guys, it might have been 25, he said, before laughing about being known as the Cap King. Despite all that, Joe insists that most of what he says has some truth behind it, and that those who know him know what's real. Over time, Joe has become a fascinating contradiction in hip-hop, part legend, part storyteller, part entertainer. Whether he's recounting run-ins with karate masters, claiming to be the first rapper with Jordans, or rewriting his Bronx mythology, Fat Joe has built a persona that thrives on exaggeration. His stories might not all be true, but they're undeniably captivating.